Welcome to episode 118 of Closer Mentality. I'm your host, Julia Mellett. I hope you're having a wonderful June so far. This month, we celebrate Pride and men's mental health, as well as National Audiobook Month. You can hear more from our sponsor, Libro FM, in the show notes. If you love storytelling, you'll also love the dive we're doing today. Today's guest, Brooke Earley, seeks to shine a light on the dangers of competitive diving. The youngest Earley comes from a long diving lineage. Her grandfather, Rick Earley, lettered in gymnastics and platform diving at Indiana University prior to competing for the United States at the 1972 Munich Olympics. Once he retired from diving, he began an illustrious coaching career for the University of Southern California. One generation later, his son Brian, Brooke's father, won the 1993 NCAA championship with the Trojans, as well as the U.S. National Championship. Brooke's mother's side also touts a history of diving excellence, as her mother Janae and Aunt Wendy dove collegiately at UCLA and USC, respectively. Obviously, it was a no-brainer that the lineage would continue down another generation, but Brian and Janae more or less allowed their daughter to make that decision for herself.
I did literally every single sport basically until I was in gymnastics and they asked me into kind of the elite level, and my parents were like, all right, like this is a lot of hours, are you sure you want to do this? There's other sports. And I was doing soccer at the time, and they're like, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's diving, and I was like, okay, I'll do diving. And then I quit the next day, gymnastics, and I was like, and I started diving, and that was it, kind of. So yeah, not only is it super cool that they understand the sport, I feel like I can go home and just be like, oh, like, and explain what happened at practice, and I don't have to be like, kind of like dumb it down for them. So that was definitely like helpful, especially if I just needed advice or something. But it was also cool because I got to base my goals on them. Now, my grandpa was an Olympian and my dad was a world champion, so like those are kind of like hefty goals. But my mom, she was a really good diver, but like later in life. And so I kind of had that goal of, okay, like I want to be as good as her. And so that kind of just added to it. So yeah.
The familial understanding of the journey to collegiate diving allowed Earley a beeline toward the scholarship once her own recruiting journey began.
I went to Purdue, I went to Tennessee, I went to Michigan, all these different places, literally around the country. Kind of just, I looked at really good diving schools. Like, I didn't really think about Pac-12, like, I mean, especially because now there's Big 12. That really didn't affect my thought process. I mean, especially, the fact that my family lineage, a lot of them went to USC. I did reach out to the coach. We have a lot of family ties to the USC coach, especially because he was a diver under my grandpa when he coached there. But once I took my trips, Arizona I was like, this is a nice place.
Arizona, a former Pac-12 member, allowed Earley to compete against USC and UCLA regularly, but her freshman year didn't go quite as planned. The 1 and 3 meter springboard specialist experienced a scary disconnect when she began training in Tucson. The second she'd launch herself off the board, she lost the ability to discern where she was in the air. The variables that college presented were stressful and distracting, and she found that distracted diving produced serious injury. The 3 to 4 seconds of airtime became disorienting, and there isn't enough time to adjust before hitting the water, the board, or the ground.
Like 3 to 4 seconds, like if that. Maybe I'm just like slowing down time in my head just because I'm used to doing the dive. Maybe even 1 to 2 seconds. I don't even know. Yeah, it's super quick. But I feel like honestly, while watching diving, it seems quicker than actually doing it because it's so thought out, like, okay, arm swing, get in the tuck, kick out. All right, look at your hands or look at the water. But when you're watching it, it's like, oh my gosh, all right, they're in the water. Like, I feel like it's, I guess time slows down in a way, but I didn't never really realize that except until now.
The twisties, popularized recently by Team USA gymnast Simone Biles, occur when an athlete's proprioception is skewed. The athlete doesn't know where they are in the air, and this mindset can have disastrous consequences. The scientific phenomenon, coined lost move syndrome, is a disruption in an athlete, normally a gymnast, diver, or trampolinist's, ability to gauge where they are in the air and utilize their muscle memory to get back on track. It's particularly dangerous when athletes are trying to land back on a 4-inch wide balance beam or avoid a hard plastic diving board.
I don't know if you know what a gainer is, a reverse gainer. Okay, so it's the same thing. And I was doing that with a twist, and I stood it up a little bit more than I'm used to. I'm used to pushing it out a little bit. So me standing it up was not close to the board at all. But in my brain, was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna hit the board. Like in the air, I'm like, well, there's nothing I can really do right now. I'm either gonna hit the board or I'm not. So, but with that margin of error, I feel like with a good coach and with good basics, you're not, unless it's a freak accident, you're not gonna hurt yourself. But I mean, yeah, there are issues that do happen. But like I don't know how to really explain it. I guess like in a way that diving kind of you know what to do, but things happen. Especially meets, you're stressed. So you're not going to do it the same in practice sometimes. You're tight, your muscles are tighter, and so you might like not be able to bounce as high. You might get a little bit closer to the board. And so being able to understand how to know what to do in those situations is very helpful because a lot of times I didn't, and that's when you get hurt.
The problematic mental block translated into a 7-month span, during which Earley sustained not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 concussions.
The biggest injury that was ever kind of recorded that, I guess our parents would know of is Greg Louganis in the Olympics when he hit his head on the board. And that is just such a widely known, like people randomly will be like, oh, do you know Greg Louganis? Do you know that name? And I'm like, yeah, it's like the biggest name in diving. And he hit his head on the board, and that's just like a big thing. And even I've seen teammates hit their head on the board. Like that is just a common, not that common, but it does happen. It's a common injury that, if you end up doing the wrong motion, you're gonna hit. Like, I'll explain this in a way of like, I didn't realize this, but the board is literally designed to push you out, like push you out a certain distance. So it's not supposed to like just push you back onto itself, which is great. But if you push into it a certain way, you're gonna, go right back onto it. And some people have that issue, I guess. But yeah, concussions. My family and, diving such a small sport, I talk to a lot of past divers a lot, and they tell me, why are concussions such a big injury now? It wasn't back in our day. And I was like, I think they're just diagnosing them more now because you guys would have, your symptoms and then go to bed. Like our trainer, especially my trainer, he's great. And the first time I ever had my concussion, he wasn't even there because I had other trainers downstairs, but he was actually at a concussion like conference or whatever, giving all his knowledge on concussions because he's worked with football and hockey. So that being said, yeah, there's a lot of injuries that could happen and risks that are involved, but I guess that kind of makes it kind of cooler because when you hit a dive, I guess it's kind of like, oh, I didn't hurt myself. So I was 19 with 4 concussions. And what I didn't realize with concussions is there's not like a set number that it's like, oh, at 6, you're out of your sport. it's kind of like, okay, depends on the person, how badly it is. Like you can get one and you're done, or you can get 10 and then that's your limit. So mine, I never had like a blackout period where I'm like, oh, I don't know, I don't remember what's going on. So that's great. I just had issues, with migraines. I mean, to this day, I have issues with migraines, unfortunately, and then like light sensitivity, stuff like that, where it's like, oh, that sucks, but at least I was able to do school, so that's good. At least I don't know. It affects people differently.
Early's coach suggested a redshirt year for the freshmen, which proved the right plan. Watching her teammates train while she sat on the pool deck, though, hurt Early's drive.
And then by then, I was also getting pretty bad, like migraine symptoms, and just everything was kind of like snowballing. And so when I sat down with my coach, we are kind of setting down a game plan for, okay, what are we going to do? And you're right. Like when I went back into the sport after I took a lot of time off, like I was sitting there, first of all, watching my teammates practice and being like, I can go and practice. Like it's not like I have a broken leg. It's like my brain. But when I finally got in, it was super slow. That was super boring. But it also was frustrating because I was honestly scared that if I messed up once, I was going to be out forever. And that terrified me. But I guess it gave me more confidence within like a 6 month range that, all right, once I gave 6 months and I didn't get a concussion, I was like, I think I'm okay. Like, I think I can take more risks and I'll be okay. And then after that, I kind of just stopped thinking about it.
During Early's sophomore season, she was working with the University of Arizona's sports psychology staff, who she attributes her return to play to.
So I actually worked with them for different reasons. I had a lot going on in my life. But I was working with them throughout, I guess, my sophomore year too. I mean, even now I still work with them and they're great. I mean, they've gone through many changes of staffing, but everyone I've worked with is amazing. And whether we're talking about sports or life, I feel like I'm always getting something out of it. I always encourage my teammates to go into it because they're always like, I mean, maybe, like, I don't have time. I'm like, you have time. Like, I'm working a job and I'm working this. Like, if I have time, like, you have time. You're good. It's 1 hour a week. But I genuinely really think therapy, sports psychology, something like once a week, once every 2 weeks is just so helpful for not only athletes, just people in general.
At the time, Early's doctor had prescribed medication for her migraines, but the side effects added insult to injury.
My migraines, possibly because I'm stressed, possibly because of the concussions, we really don't know. The migraine medication that they put me on, we found out years ago, causes me to be really depressed. And we knew that at the time, so when we put me on that, we also put me on antidepressants. So we're like, all right, we're doing this smart, right? But upping that, the migraine medication when migraines were still getting worse, we didn't dose it correctly. And so I was getting really depressed this year, right before championship season, and my diving was not doing well. And so going into them, I kind of was like, this isn't working. I need help. Like, and working, okay, I work with like so many of them. So I work with sports psych where him and I come up with, plans throughout the week. Like, okay, this is your homework. And I work really well with homework. Like, okay, we're gonna do this, this, this. And then also my athletic trainer, he has done so many like things with psychology and all that. He also really helped me with the psychology part of it, of just like, okay, what are you grateful for? Like, just think about that. And then also take away a lot of these stressors until championship season is over, like the stress of getting a job after and the stress of a breakup, like all these things. Um, And those two together, those two people together really helped me get out of this little funk that, not really funk, this depression that I was in. And they really were able to dig deep into, and also the fact that they were able to help me was a fact that I was willing to work on it. Like, there are some people that are like, okay, like, yeah, help me, but I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to do what you're telling me to do, and like, why am I still in this? So I don't know. I was willing to do whatever they told me to do to see what helps.
Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless of if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human in this world going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a positive way. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. This is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options just in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. If this sounds like something that could help you, there's a link in the show notes to get you started on your therapy journey. It's betterhelp.com/closer mentality. Clicking that link helps support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. Because finding a therapist is a little like dating. If you don't really fit with the therapist matched with you, it's easy and free to switch therapists without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/closer mentality. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/closer mentality. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this channel. Did you know that you can purchase audiobooks directly from your favorite local bookstore? With Libro FM, you can pick from more than 325,000 audiobooks, including bestsellers and recommendations from real booksellers. You'll get the same audiobooks at the same price as the largest audiobook company out there, you know the name. But you'll be part of a different story, one that supports your local community. If you're new to audiobooks, they're the perfect way to squeeze more reading into your busy life. Listen with the free Libro FM app while you do chores, walk the dog, or relax at home. If you already love audiobooks and don't know what to listen to next, check out recommendations from the people who know best, booksellers. Closer Mentality has partnered with Libro FM on a special offer. Through the link in the show notes, you can get 2 audiobooks on Libro FM for the price of 1. Offer only valid for new members in Canada and the US. Thanks to Libro FM for sponsoring this podcast. Earley's road back to the springboard was difficult. She battled depression and migraines off and on for the next 3 years, and her diving took a hit because of it. What eventually brought Earley out of that funk became competing at the same pools she'd had success in the past. Her routines were the same, and she knew the boards. Her parents even helped put her dives to music, so she could hear the song in her head as she competed. This ended up helping her timing and accuracy significantly.
My parents actually had this thing when they were younger, and it was kind of like a highlight reel, but with music. And so whenever they hear the song, they're like, oh my gosh, that's my highlight reel. And we were talking about that with our team, and we kind of put together our best dives. And I was nervous. What was it? Maybe zones this year or NCAA's, I can't remember. And I was just nervous. And I was like, why am I nervous? I've done these dives 1,000 times. And I just went through it over and over. I just watched these dives. It was like, I know how to do these dives. I've done them a million times. And what's actually super weird this year is all of our championship meets, at least for a few of the teams, were at the same pool. And that's not normal for, like, everyone else was everywhere else in the country. But for us, it was in the same pool. So that was like a huge advantage for us. But I knew those boards. I knew how to do a dive with those same, basically the same judges, like with the same stress, with the same crowd. Like, I know that. And just watching the highlight reel and being like, okay, I know how to do that was super helpful in that like moment of stress, I guess.
When it came down to her conference and NCAA performances, though, Early slipped effortlessly into a flow state. Instead of the music she'd been practicing with, her mind was blank, and her gaze was focused like tunnel vision.
Randomly during my Pac-12s last year, I did this thing. I've never done it in a meet, but it's called a balk, which is basically you start your dive and then you stop and then you restart. And a balk means you get 2 points off of every single judge's score. And that's like a lot of points with the amount they multiply by. So you don't want to balk. No one ever balks. Everyone's like, ooh, if you balk, right? I have never balked in a meet except when I was like maybe 9. And I balked because my knee hyperextended on the board. And I was in finals, Pac-12 3-meter, and my entire swim team's watching. And they don't normally get to watch us too because they're swimming. And so I was like, everything went silent. Like people were talking, I bet, but like my entire like my ears, you know, in like a movie, everything kind of goes like fuzzy. It was that. It was the weirdest thing. I was like, okay, calm down. You're fine. Take a deep breath and then go. And then I actually ended up pretty much hitting the dive, which was very rare because people are normally stressed in that moment. It honestly didn't really feel like a meet when I was in that. Like, it's funny because this was a year ago, but I still remember the feelings. I remember walking and then like walking back and being like, okay, you're fine. Like, take a deep breath, restart, you got it. And then because it was so quiet in my head, like I kind of like wasn't stressing about like the murmur of like everyone being like, ooh, like, you know, like weirdly enough, I totally thought I would be like, oh my gosh, they're talking about me. Oh my gosh, they're, you know, like they're watching me and stuff like that. And for some reason I wasn't. I was so locked in, and I don't think I've ever had an experience where I've been that locked in on a dive ever. And at the end of my events at NCAA's, I had coaches coming up to me and they're like, I have watched you compete your entire life and I've never seen you compete this well. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, that's super nice of you. But in my head, I'm like, it's literally because it's the same pool, but thanks. But I think me ending on a high note was huge for me ending the sport because I don't know what I would have done if I left the sport with like more to give.
Are you an athlete rehabbing from an injury? Are you a coach or athletic trainer seeking additional support for your injured athlete toolkits? KT Tape has exactly what you need. KT Tape is a rehabilitation tape that helps stabilize and compress sensitive areas of the body during exercise. Apply KT Tape to an area either in pain or in recovery and feel the difference. KT Tape is comfortable, stable, and long-wearing. There's tape for all modes of action, from gentle, which is safe for easy activity and everyday use, to pro extreme, for athletes in moderate to high-impact exercise. KT Tape makes water-resistant tape as well for a more adaptable rehabilitation implementation. KT Tape caters to lifelong athletes and focuses on reducing muscle soreness for all users when worn during exercise and up to 48 hours post. Are you an athlete in need of prescription sports goggles or sunglasses? Today's final sponsor may have just the solution for you. A Sight for Sport Eyes was created when founder Shannon Knight saw a niche that was perpetually going unfulfilled. A Sight for Sport Eyes grew out of a need for education surrounding the impact of sport-related eye injuries and their lasting repercussions. A Sight for Sport Eyes runs like a regular optical practice, not an e-commerce store. Their goal is to give you the same high-quality service and name-brand lenses made by the best optical laboratories in the country, geared specifically for athletes and athletic use cases. If you need new lenses or frames, A Sight for Sport Eyes is the perfect place to get them. The links to BetterHelp.com, Libro FM, KT Tape, and A Sight for Sport Eyes are all in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the episode. Early opted to forego her 5th year of eligibility, as she believes that she gave her all to the sport. She ended her college diving career as an NCAA All-American honorable mention. Now, the rest of her life is ahead.
I think I kind of reached the end in a way because this whole year I've been really deciding, 5th year, not fifth year. And at the end of it, I kind of got to the point where I love to compete. That was my favorite part. A lot of people don't like to actually compete. And I'm like, that's insane. Why are you doing the sport? But to each their own. But I was literally in the most fun competitions. Like finals are where you have fun. Prelims are not the most fun. They're super long events. And you're trying to get into finals, but finals are where you have the most fun. And I'm in these events and I'm like, I really don't want to do the next dive. And I'm like, yeah, I love it. Like after I do the dive and I'm like getting all the cheers and I hit the dive and it's great. But then the second I have to think about the next dive, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do the next one. And like I love the feelings after I do it, but it's just like that buildup of, oh, the next one. I've never had that before until probably this year. And I was like, that's when I know it's the end, because I don't want to do a whole nother year and I'm dreading competing. And I don't think anything really kind of changed that. I think I'm just so excited for the future. And I just kind of got to the end. And I think that's totally okay, but I don't know. I probably could do a whole nother year and be fine, but I just didn't want to risk the fact of me kind of losing that love for the sport. It's a lot. So feeling that burnout, especially if you're not doing well or something, is so valid. But I don't really think this is burnout fully. I think like you said, I'm just ready for the next adventure. I've been here for 4 years. Like I've dealt with what it's like to go through a year of being a student athlete. And I love the perks of being a student athlete. Like it is awesome. And what you get, like not only of like, oh, we get team merch, like and all that, not just that, but just like the experiences you get as a student athlete and the fact that they can really truly help you get so far in life. That is what I love being a student athlete. But I think I have done it so many times, so many years, that I'm kind of like, it's kind of mundane in a way for me. I don't want to do it again. And also with diving, like, I talked to my coach a lot, and for a while I was like, but I feel like there's not much more I can do in this sport. Like, I'm not going to the Olympics. At some point, you're not going to the Olympics. And I'm not winning an NCAA title. And at this end of this season, I actually do think there was a little bit more I could do. I missed out of top 8 All-American at NCAAs by 2 points. And I really could have. But in the end, it's like, okay, what if next year I ended up missing it again? Like, and then I just did a whole year just for me to miss it. So it really, I think it's being a student athlete and everything is amazing, but I ran my course and I'm super excited for what's to come.
Thank you so much for tuning into episode 118 of Closer Mentality. By the time this episode is posted, Brooke will be headed to London to begin the post-collegiate phase of her life. If you'd like to keep up with what she's doing, you can follow her at Brooke_Earley on Instagram. You can also watch Brooke and I's full interview at the Closer Mentality Uncensored YouTube channel. The link to that is in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to episode 118 of Closer Mentality. As always, I'm your host, Julia Mellett. See you next week.